Hello, thank you for listening. This is the near death experience of Leonardo. And Leonardo's experience occurred in July of 2016 and was documented on June 11th of 2017. And I believe, although Leonardo may be from Venezuela, this was submitted in English and has not been translated. Open quote. It was nighttime between 10 p.m. and midnight in my rented apartment. I was with one of my roommates, who is also Venezuelan. We were celebrating the fact that we were going on a 2-week vacation to Venezuela the following week. So we got a bottle of vodka and poured it all into a pitcher of fruit punch. We started playing blackjack on the floor of our living room. The loser of each game would drink half a cup of vodka fruit punch. I considered myself a pretty good player, but somehow I managed to lose almost every hand I played that night. I was baffled, since I've always considered myself to be a very lucky person. Anyways, after a couple of hours of playing and losing, as you can imagine, I was pretty wasted, since I had practically drank the entire pitcher by myself. I was so dizzy that I couldn't stand up, so I tried crawling back to my room. Even crawling, I kept falling sideways. I thought it was hilarious, since I've never been that drunk or dizzy before. So after rolling and crawling like a soldier, I finally made it onto my bed. As soon as I laid on my bed, I felt the roof and the entire room spinning. I lowered my right hand to touch the floor to see if I could stop the spinning, but it didn't work. I was very dizzy and I closed my eyes, but everything was still spinning. After a while, I guess I passed out because the stress that I was feeling about the spinning room went away. Suddenly, I found myself floating in empty space or an empty void. I felt like I was floating on water, except that it wasn't water. I was floating in what felt like pure love, all caps. I also felt like I was slowly drifting, as if being pulled somewhere. The feeling of pure love that I felt surrounded with was amazing. It was nothing like any love I've ever experienced since. I don't think that kind of love is available in our physical body in reality because it's very hard to describe. In my experience, it is indescribable, but since then I realized why people don't come or don't want to come back from physical death. Anyways, I was floating in that wonderful bliss in the middle of nothingness when suddenly I felt something hit me on the back. It felt like being hit by a tennis ball. Then I felt like I was being pelted by these light balls from all directions, as in the Atari game Asteroids. I kept blocking every shot from all directions. I remember doing this for quite a while because I was getting really exhausted. I didn't know how long this torture was going to keep going, but I knew that I was about to give up. Suddenly, I looked up diagonally and I saw a small, bright star, all caps, in the distance. Then the torture stopped, and that blissful feeling of pure love and peacefulness came once again over me with much delight. I didn't want that feeling to leave me again. It's like being engulfed in a blanket of pure love. I saw the star approaching. I was intrigued, and I tried to focus on it since I could see like there was someone in the middle of it. As the star was getting closer, I did notice someone, but it was strange because this person was wearing the same clothes that I was. The star stopped about 20 yards from me, and I could see a small version of myself from within that star. I frowned because I was confused. I asked, "Who are you?" Seconds later, the being whom I thought was a small version of myself replied with a very stern, strong, fatherly, godly, echoing voice, just like you would imagine God's voice sounding like. This really shook me down to the essence of my core. I realized there and then that this was no dream, illusion, or anything else. This was an ultimatum by someone very powerful. I knew this because it wasn't my inner voice that I heard, nor any voice I've heard before or since. This being said the following, and I quote, "Wake up or you won't." I knew this was an option that he was giving me. I remember thinking that I wasn't ready to die. My mom was waiting for me in Venezuela, and she needs me. So as soon as I thought of this, the star started backing away to where it came from. The light balls started hitting me once again from all directions. At that moment, I started freaking out because I realized that if I didn't wake up soon, I was as good as dead. I remember trying to open my eyes and feeling them trying to open, but they felt like they were glued shut. I was in full panic mode at that moment, and I tried with all my might until I suddenly snapped my eyes open and sat up on my bed. My heart was beating fast, and my entire body was shaking. I couldn't stop the shaking. I took a couple of deep breaths to see if I could slow down the shaking, but it got worse. On top of that, my saliva was so thick that it felt like I was chewing gum. I needed water, but I could barely move. I didn't think I could make it to the kitchen in my condition, so I crawled to Eric's bed and woke him up. He was scared after seeing me shaking. I asked him to hit me to see if I was dreaming or not. He was really scared at that point. He asked me what was happening. He asked me what was happening to me. I replied, "I don't know. Slap me." He did. I knew I wasn't dreaming. I told Eric to bring me water because I was having a hard time swallowing and breathing. He brought me water, milk, and juice. No matter how much I drank, it felt like I was drinking air. I felt like my time was up, so I told Eric to dial 911. He was reluctant because his English wasn't so good. I told him to call and just say ambulance, and that's it. He called and then hung up. 911 called back, and he said, "Ambulance." Minutes later, the ambulance came, and they checked my pulse and said that I had low pulse. They pulled me up, and I felt very nauseous. I told them to take me to the bathroom because I felt like vomiting. I vomited all the vodka fruit punch that was in my system, and then my body stopped shaking. My pulse became normal, and I felt much better. I had no insurance, so I decided not to go in the ambulance. I signed a release form, and off they went. It was around 3 a.m., and I was now lying thoughtfully on the living room couch. I was tired, but I didn't want to go to sleep because I was still thinking about the warning. I was scared that if I went to sleep that I wouldn't wake up again. I resisted my sleep as much as I could until I saw the sun brightening outside. Then I gave up from exhaustion and slept like a baby. It was strange, but after that day, I lost my fear of dying or of questioning if there is life after death. I now know that our true self, doesn't die, only the physical body dies. I understood why we don't want to come back once we feel that amazing love, but I felt it wasn't my time yet. End quote. That's a pretty neat story, Leonardo. There are a couple questions here. Your highest level of consciousness, where was it? Answer, although the only difference would be the feeling of complete and pure love that surrounded me, but I know that this is what you usually feel when you're in that place or state of consciousness. Comparing your vision, and answer, I was floating in the void/darkness prior to my higher self experience, as I like to call it. I guess floating in a warm pool, but without trying to stay afloat, is what it feels like, even though it is dark. I could still see the distance and all around. It's not like physical darkness where you can't see in front of you. You can see there is just nothing there to see unless they/it shows itself/themselves to you. Question comparing your hearing. It's the same. I had no problems hearing. I heard the lights pelting me and my complaining about it. I heard the star very sharply. His voice really echoed through my being. It was really powerful. I heard that loud and clear. Question, did you see an unearthly light? Answer, yes, it was a star. There was a being inside the star. I say inside the star because the small being wasn't glowing, but the star was, and it wasn't blinding. Question, did you seem to enter some other unearthly world? Answer, I was floating along in nothingness. I was in space, but without stars, planets, or anything. It was like a warm, loving ocean, and I could see distance, but there was nothing to see. I never felt scared or lonely. I was just enjoying the feeling and the experience. I could have floated there forever. Question, what emotions did you feel during the experience? Answer, a peaceful love like an ocean. It was everywhere around me and through me. I was a part of it. It's really hard to describe. Then came the annoying, nonstop light pelting me. Then again, the peacefulness when I saw the star. Then I felt panic after it left. Question, did you suddenly seem to understand everything? Answer, I understood that we don't truly die, at least not our true selves. Only the physical vessel/body dies. There is a heaven, but we don't get there right away. We must go through readjustment. It's like starting a job. I was guided until I understood how to perform my duties. We're all one. Imagine God as an octopus. Each tentacle is a life, and there's an unlimited number of tentacles, and each tentacle is different, but they're all part of the one, except that God is not an octopus. Everything has an answer. Question, did you come to a border or point of no return? Answer, well, I didn't go anywhere. A star came to me and gave me an ultimatum. I didn't feel that it was my time to go, so I made a conscious decision to come back. I fought back to continue this journey. Question, what importance should you place on your religious/spiritual life prior to your experience? Answer, not important to me. Question, what was your religion prior to your experience? Answer, unaffiliated, nothing in particular. Religious unaffiliated. I've never believed in religion, but I consider myself to be spiritual. I believe in God, heaven, and in the two forces of good and evil, or light and darkness. But I don't believe in the religious sense. The God I believe in has no name, shape, sex, or vanity to being worshipped. It is none of the gods found in any Bible. Heaven is whatever you want it to be. That's why it's perfect for everyone. I believe in energy and free will. We're all one anyways. Question, have your religious practices changed since your experience? Answer, yes. I believe less in religion and more in spirituality. I am more intuitive and in tune with energies. I don't pass judgment as easily as I used to. Many religions and religious people pass a lot of judgment. That's why I'm less religious than ever before. Question, what importance do you place on your religious/spiritual life after your experience? Answer, greatly important to me. Question, what is your religion now? Unaffiliated, nothing in particular. I have no religion. I feel religion is a form of brainwashing, and I like my godly gift of free will. I consider myself to be a spiritual being. Question, did your experience include features consistent with your earthly beliefs? Answer, well, I didn't see a religious figure, pearly gates, a tunnel, deceased family members, or flying angels, but I did see a star with a being in it, which is nothing that I've ever heard of or seen anywhere. I did hear a godly voice, though, and the feeling of pure love, ! I've never heard of that before anywhere. I always imagined death or near death to be painful or traumatic, but now I understand why they say rest in peace, because it doesn't get better than that. Question, did you have a change in your values and beliefs because of your experience? Answer, yes. Loss, fear of dying. I realized that life is a school or a playground. I learned not to hurt others. I learned to forgive, love more often, and not to pass judgment. My new power should not interfere with others' free will. I can do whatever I want. Knowledge is power, but of enlightenment, not of power over others. We are immortal. There is a God. There is life after death. We live many lives. Question. Did you seem to encounter a mystical being or presence or hear an unidentifiable voice? Answer. This being chose to look like a miniature copy of myself, and I knew it wasn't me. When it spoke, it was very strong, powerful, commanding, mighty, and godly. That voice made me realize that it wasn't an illusion or my inner voice. This was real. The vibration and the sound, it was very fatherly, stern, and godly. Like I said, it's what you would expect a God to sound like or someone of great power. Question: during your experience, did you gain information about universal connection or oneness? Answer: yes. We are part of it now. We're just not conscious to it. I can describe it in one word. Oh, quote, all caps, love. During your experience, did you gain information about the existence of God? Answer: yes. It's a feeling of knowing that we're all one. It's hard to explain. It is something that must be experienced. It's like describing what sex feels like to a virgin. You can describe it in many ways, but they'll truly understand the feeling once it is experienced. Question: do you believe in an afterlife after your experience? Answer: yes. There was a star being with a very powerful voice, unlike any voice I've heard before. The fact that I was given a choice is proof enough for me. There was no reason for any star or star being to make itself known to me and then warn me of my impending life decision. He or it could have just left me alone and allowed me to die. Also, the experience of floating in an ocean, like essence of pure love, is quite amazing for me. If that's how dying feels, then I can't wait to feel that again. That's why I lost my fear of dying. It's amazing. Question: what life changes occurred in your life after the experience? Answer: large changes occurred. I became more in tune with energies, more aware of psychic powers, more sensitive to things, more fearless, wanting to know more about the unknown / the occult, secret knowledge, anything new age, ET, science, biology, energy, mankind, history, a sense of knowing and understanding, but of restrictions too. I understand patience, duality, and free will. Question: have your relationships changed specifically because of your experience? Answer: yes. All the people that I had wronged and cheated in my life, I made it my mission to go and apologize to all of them. After doing so, I felt a heaviness lifted from my soul as if I had paid my karma. Now I have no more enemies or people that dislike me. I now try to see both sides of any argument and not pass judgment. I am not here to judge, but to experience. I become a better person with greater understanding and knowledge. I become more psychic and ready to help others as best I can. Question: was the experience difficult to express in words? Answer: yes. The feeling is like none other experienced here on earth or the physical realm. We don't have words to describe it. It is something that must be experienced to be understood. Question: how accurately do you remember the experience in comparison with other life events that occurred around the same time of the experience? Answer: I remember it more accurately. How can you forget an experience like that? I remembered everything, especially the feeling. The vision of it all is burned into my memory. Only Alzheimer's will temporarily take that away from me. The feeling is so unique that only someone else who has experienced it can relate to it. It's like asking an astronaut what it feels like to float in space or walk on the moon. Only another astronaut can relate, while the rest of us can only imagine. Question: do you have any psychic, non-ordinary, or other special gifts after your experience that you did not have before the experience? Answer: yes. I can connect telepathically with a loved one. I see when a known person has passed away. I'm able to receive messages from higher sources. I can wish things into reality. I can sense energies better. I can play with energy. I know how to protect myself from unwanted entities. Question: are there one or several parts of the experience that are especially meaningful or significant to you? Answer: yes. The sudden knowing and understanding of things. Question: have you ever shared this experience with others? Answer: yes. The next day with my roommate. They react the same way everyone else does by saying that it was a hallucination. No, they were not influenced at all, and that is fine because I now know more about everything than ever before, and I can tune into things that others cannot or aren't even aware of yet. Question: what did you believe about the reality of your experience shortly after it happened? Answer: experience was definitely real. It was very real because I felt a love like none ever felt before on earth. I saw a being that I've never imagined or heard of before. That voice shook me to my core, was undeniably powerful and godly like. The whole experience is something that's unforgettable. The loss of fear is quite liberating. And not only that, but the abilities that I now have are undeniable to me. And I really don't care what others think because I now know what is true and what awaits me once I'm through with this life. I am better prepared for other experiences. Question: what do you believe about the reality of your experience now? Answer: experience was definitely real. Since then, I've had many other unique experiences. During my years of spiritual knowledge and searching for truths, I met a Brazilian couple who were teaching metaphysical studies in a class of 10 students, me included. She proceeded to reveal her past lives to us. When I mean reveal, I mean shape shifted right before our eyes. She had long brown hair and was in her early 30s. Her hair grew shorter and she became a bearded man. Then an old lady, and she did this 5 more times. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing, but that was definitely the living physical proof of some things that are otherworldly. This was corroborated by the other 9 students. As I continued searching for more knowledge, I met Archangel Gabriel in a dream. I didn't know he existed before this. He warned me about something that I was doing, and I heeded his warning. It was funny because when I saw him in my dreams, he introduced himself as Archangel Gabriel, not just as an angel, but an archangel. I still do not know the difference since I'm still not religious. Then I met Archangel Raphael. I didn't know he existed either. I also met Michael and Gabriel, again in my second NDE, which I will describe tomorrow when I fill this questionnaire again. I've also seen my younger sister appear to me in a dream before my mother told me she was pregnant with her. Again, I saw my best friend's son in a dream months before he got his wife pregnant. They were unable to have kids until I told him to say something while he was trying. He did, and now he has a beautiful boy. I see stars every time someone I know dies. So when I see stars, I start calling family members and asking about who's passed away. Then I know who it was that came to say their goodbyes to me. I've tried astral projection, and I've had my first encounter with a shadow being. I've tapped into other dimensions/realities, and I've learned a lot since that first NDE. I feel very enlightened, and I try my best to enlighten others and provide them with answers and live a non-judgmental life where I do my best to show love and understanding to all. I understand the why of many things, but I'm still attached to the ego, which is quite hard to detach from. But that's my next step to accomplish before my next life. I hope I can help others in their search for meaning and enlightenment. End quote. Wow. What a story. Thank you, Leonardo. Appreciate you sharing, and I'll look for your other story here. I didn't see it yet, but I'll look for it. And thanks for everybody for listening. Have a great day.